There are no bad businesses. There are just those people who don't know enough to see the opportunities in the work they're in. If there seems to be no future or opportunity in it, it isn't always because it's not there, but perhaps only because we can't see it.
Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right. Well, now I got so much engagement because everybody's telling me they can't hear me. Those on Instagram, I know you guys can hear me, but you can't hear me on the insurance. Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. So it looks like my computer had set the mic to a different one. So sorry about that. My apologies. I was just sharing simply that I tried a webinar on Friday. For those who are on the insurance syndicate listening to me, I tried a webinar on Friday at a new time at 7 p.m. It was a new webinar that I'd never done, and it completely flopped. Normally, we get 400 or 500 people joining our webinars. This time, we only had like 75 people join. Normally, I get a ton of people to try out our program. I got only 2 people out of the 75 to actually try out the program, which, in my world, that's a complete flop. And the reason why I'm sharing that with you is because I was trying something different. And I think that's a key principle in your business. And if you guys are like me, when you try something different and it fails, you get a little bit down. You get discouraged because you put in all this effort, you strategized, you had a thought process and a reasoning to do something, and it didn't work. And I came across this quote at my 5 a.m. club the next morning when I was feeling a little bit down. And it was an Alex Hormozi quote, and it said this: if you're not losing at all, you're not taking enough risk. And I want that to sink in for you for a second. If you're not losing at all, you're not taking enough risk. Now, if you're losing all the time, then you're probably taking too much risk or you're doing something wrong. But if you're not losing at all in your business, you're not taking enough risk. And why I love that quote and why it lifted my spirits a little bit the next morning is because I thought to myself, no, this is the key, Luke. You could have done the same webinar that you always do at the same time you always do it because you know that basics. But if you're never trying anything new, you will never reach a new level. And just like you, I am constantly testing, constantly trying things new. And a lot of those things, they don't work. And in fact, I would say probably the majority of the stuff that I try new doesn't work. And I think one of the key business principles you have to realize is that it's one of these things of like failing fast. You hear that all the time. In fact, one of our core values, if you see that picture behind me, is fearless. So those are actually Reminder Media's core values, and each letter stands for something. Well, the first E in fearless stands for the entrepreneurial spirit. And what that means for us as a company is we're going to fail fast. We're going to be nimble. We're going to be fluid. We're going to be flexible. And I think what happens in the journey of an organization is you start out and you're willing to try anything because you don't know exactly what's working, what's not going to work. Then you stumble across the things that work and you do more of those things. Then you build a process and a system around those things so you can get scale and repeatability. But then what happens in the life cycle of a company is you don't try new things. You don't innovate. And what happens is you keep doing that same repeatable process that you've always done. But guess what? There's a variable you can't control that changes all the time. It's time. You can't control time. You can't control what's happening in your surroundings with technology and all the other advancements. So what worked for you in the past, even though it's working and you have a repeatable system on it, it might not work in the future. And you got to constantly be iterating. And I think this is why companies in their life cycle, they grow to a certain level and they get corporatized, which is systematized, and then they die because they lack the entrepreneurial spirit. They lack the ability to actually innovate. And so even though it was a simple webinar done on a Thursday night at 7 p.m., it just spoke to me and reminded me that, hey, if you're not failing at all in your business, you're not risking enough, and I guarantee you're not innovating. So don't be scared of the failure. Fail fast. We've heard that saying all the time. Okay, second thing I want to share with you that has really been on my mind lately because I've been, hiring a bunch of people. I think we're up to almost 70, maybe 75 people we've hired in the last 90 days. So we've hired about 75 people in the last 90 days, majority in sales. And, we are training salespeople. How many of you, chat in if you train salespeople at all? If you have anybody in your downline that you train, or, obviously you're training yourself, but if you train salespeople, I'd love to know if you are training salespeople. Okay. So one of the things that I have come to learn in training hundreds of salespeople is we get too focused on the technicality of the script and process, and we lose teaching the essence. You can kind of see a theme in my mindset these days, right? Is that you got to be making sure that you're focusing on the things that actually work, not just the process and technicality. And what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is like the example I give to try to explain to salespeople, like when we teach you a script, we teach you want to memorize the script. You then want to internalize the script, and then you want to personalize the script. Because in that order, it is so key that first, you don't know what you're doing. So you got to learn the fundamentals of basketball. If you're joining a basketball team, you got to learn the fundamentals. But the fundamentals aren't going to win you the basketball game. They're not going to get you into the NBA. You actually have to apply and internalize what you're doing. So when you're reciting a script and you're teaching salespeople the script, you want them to memorize the script, but you know they can't stop there. They got to internalize why they're saying what they're saying. Go to the web right now and Google scripts for your industry, and you'll understand what I mean by internalizing real fast, because you'll be reading these scripts and you'll be like, I'm not sure if this script will work or not. Yeah, you need to memorize that script, but you need to try to understand why are they saying what they're saying. And then third, you need to personalize it. That means making it your own. I always teach people an Academy Award is never won by the actor just reciting the script. The actor makes it their own. They get themselves into character, right? They become this character and they make the script their own, and they add to it and they influence it, right? So you need to memorize, internalize, and personalize. But you must, when you are teaching a salesperson, you must teach them, most importantly, the why, the essence behind what they're doing, because you can't close people based upon technicality. Why? Because human beings, we justify on logic, but we buy on emotion. So if you don't understand the emotion, the essence, the why behind why you're saying what you're saying, and you don't present it that way, and you don't teach it that way, then what will happen is you'll get not a bunch of robots, but you'll get a bunch of people reciting your script, doing your process, but their conversion rates will be very low. Because you need to teach them actually what they're selling and why they're selling it, so they understand the essence, so they can bob and weave in any scenario. Human beings, we're very sophisticated people. So when you're pitching someone, every person is unique with a unique set of circumstances, and they have a unique history and a unique personality. So if you understand the essence of what you're pitching and the why behind what you're pitching, then you can bob and weave and adjust. And as Tony Robbins teaches, match and mirror and build rapport with that person. Most of the time, though, we fall into this trap because we're trying to teach somebody. We try to teach them in a formulaic method, and then they get the thought in their head that this formula is going to get this result. And it doesn't work that way in sales. Why? Because sales is both an art and a science. So you need the science side. I don't want to minimize it completely. You need the science side where you have a script and you have a process, but it's not just science. It's an art. So you have to have the art side, which is truly the why behind what you're pitching. And the example I give is kind of, to try to break it down for my sales team, is I said, look, it's kind of like a speed limit. When you're driving in a neighborhood, does the cop pull you over for going 36 miles per hour in a 35? Does the cop pull you over? The cop usually doesn't pull you over. Why? Even though you technically are breaking the law, you're technically breaking the law. You're going 36 and a 35, or let's make it even more extreme. You're going 38 and a 35. You're technically breaking the law by 3 miles, but the cop doesn't pull you over. Why? Because there's this thing called the spirit of the law, the essence of the law. That law was not put in place to make everybody just drive 35 miles per hour, right? That law was put in place because they don't want people to drive dangerously, recklessly in an area where people are pulling out of their driveways, or there might be people crossing the street. So the spirit and the essence of the law is what is truly important, not the technicality. And I give that example because it's the same in sales. I have a roadmap for you to process or to go down when you join my sales team. I have a process. I have scripts for you to memorize. But at the end of the day, you have to understand the essence behind what you're selling, the spirit behind what you're selling, because you'll never be able to actually bob and weave and connect with that person and sell it in every different scenario, because I can't write a process and a script for every scenario. So that is really, really important. And it's very nuanced in training. But I know just in my years and years of hiring tons of people and training hundreds of salespeople that, the most important thing for me to get across to a salesman is the why behind what they're selling, and making sure that they understand. And a key question I ask them all the time is I say to them, hey, if you were going to sell this to your mom, how would you sell it? If you were going to present this to your brother, to your best friend, how would you present it to them? Because I want to hear what they truly think and what they truly believe about this product, because you're going to sell your mom in a very, I call it wholesome, true, way where you're giving her the real reality of what you're doing and how it can help. And so you've got to get that across to your sales team. So that's a key thing that's been on our company's mind is teaching the essence and the why behind what we're doing. And then I'll share this with you. This is the key question that I want you to think about for Labor Day. Okay. And I think you can't grow a successful business without the answers to this question. And so I would take some time today and actually implement this. And the question is, do you know your numbers? What do I mean by that? Do you know your numbers? And I would take some time today to ask yourself, do you know your conversion rate? What is your conversion rate on the leads that you're calling? Do you know the number of dials or connections, activities that you have to do in order to get a conversion? You need to know those numbers. Why? Because when you know those numbers, it helps you not only set good goals and good targets, but it actually can dictate where your holes are in your business. So do you know your conversion rate of your leads? And do you know the number of dials or connection points? Like if you're face-to-face sales or, whatever you're doing, your emails that you're sending, your text messages that you're sending, how long does it take you to get that lead to convert? Because that's going to then lead you to, do you know your cost per acquisition? Do you know your cost per acquisition? That's how much it cost you to get the lead. And then you want to actually look at how much did it cost you for your sales effort to go after that lead. So that might be the time it took you to actually get that lead to close, and how much you pay yourself or your sales member. And then you can even we include this in ours, the onboarding costs. So how much does it cost you to onboard this person? So you can include software into that cost if you wanted to, that you use to onboard the person, or you just have a customer service rep that is onboarding that person. But do you know that number? And then after you get that number, do you know the lifetime value of the client that you are onboarding or obtaining? Those are 4 critical pieces that you need to know. Do you know your conversion rate? Do you know the amount of effort it takes, whether it's dials or touch points, to actually convert? Do you know your cost per acquisition? And do you know your lifetime value? The most 4 important numbers, I would say, in your business to be able to build a business that can actually scale. If you don't know those numbers, what happens to you is you're chasing constantly on a hamster wheel with no ability to assess yourself. And the saying goes, you cannot improve that which you don't measure, and you can't measure what you don't track. So I would spend some time today on this Labor Day, where a lot of people are off and you're probably not maybe doing as much on the sales side that you normally do in your business. I would spend some time today to answer those questions in your business. And a key thing to understand about your business is, as your business grows, your cost of acquisition should be going down. As your business grows, your cost of acquisition should be going down, and your cost of lead should be going down. Why do I say that? As your business grows, you should be building your brand. Your brand should be spreading organically, both by word of mouth referrals, and then also just by people seeing what you've paid for in the past over and over again, whether it's content that you've put out there on social and it's still going because it's evergreen, or whatever it is that you did in the past. They should be seeing that, and you should be getting people into your ecosystem that way. So as you scale your business, your cost of acquisition should be going down, and your cost per lead should be going down. Now, it will probably flatline at a certain point, but it should be going down so you can get economies of scale. But those are 4 questions that I believe this Labor Day, if you get the answers to those, you will be blown away what it will do for you in your understanding of where you need to focus, because you can immediately see, wow, it takes me way too much sales effort to get a client in the boat, which means I've got to become more effective in my sales ability. Maybe your script is not working. Your conversion rates aren't the way where you need them to be. And like we're seeing that on some of the campaigns that we're doing. It's taking us way too long. We're getting too low of a conversion rate on these leads. So we need to listen to these calls. We need to reassess how we're pitching it and what we're presenting, and redo the script and the sales process in order to improve efficiency. And if we redo it and we still can't improve efficiency, then we know, hey, the quality of this lead isn't powerful enough. Like, it's not going to help us. So we need to put our efforts somewhere else. Instead of spending money on this Facebook marketing campaign or this direct mail campaign, we need to move it somewhere else. In small business, it is so hard to track your numbers because you're doing every job. You're doing customer service, you're doing sales, you're the CEO, you are everything in your business. And so it's so hard to track your numbers, but I will promise you this, that you will not get out of the hamster wheel and you will not scale to any number of significance without knowing those 4 numbers. So spend some time today, know those 4 numbers, and remember, don't be afraid to fail, right? Don't be afraid to fail. I literally failed just this past Thursday. I know I'm going to fail again this week, but don't be afraid to fail, because if you're not failing, like Alex Hormozi said, you're not taking enough risk. So get in there, fail fast, and move forward. Let's have a great Labor Day. Appreciate you guys so much. Sorry about the sound in the beginning. Made that mistake before. You would think don't make the same mistake twice, but there you go, fail fast. So appreciate you guys. Get out there and win for your clients, win for your family, win for yourself. Let's have a great Monday and let's kill it.